I'm 40 years old, married. We've been together for 13 years, married for 10, 2 kids. From the outside, we probably look like a typical happy family. But that night changed everything. Claire said Claire was going out to grab a few things for the house. Strange, because Claire hates shopping, and even stranger, Claire was going with some guy I'd never met. Claire just said Julian was a friend. Claire left, dressed like Claire was going on a date. Perfume, makeup, clothes Claire never wears just to go out. I felt it in my gut. Something was off. You know that feeling? When your instincts scream, but your brain tells you to stay calm. Claire didn't come back for hours. Not a single message. I put the kids to bed, sat in the dark for a while, then something pulled me upstairs. I walked into our bedroom, opened Claire's drawer. There they were. The lingerie, the ones Claire only wore for us. Claire wore them that night, but I wasn't part of it. And I swear it felt like someone punched me straight in the stomach. My body was in that room, but my soul had cracked open. When Claire came home, I looked at Claire and I couldn't breathe. Claire looked tired, not physically, emotionally, like guilt had drained Claire dry. I asked who Claire was with. Claire gave me one name. That's it. No last name, no details, just a friend. And the way Claire said it, like the truth was trying to break free. But Claire stuffed it back inside. I stayed quiet. My heart was screaming, but all I said was, "Are you okay?" The next day, I remembered that name. I'd seen it before, months ago. In Claire texts. Back then, I didn't think much of it. Just a work contact, Claire said. But now I see it. That was the beginning, the first crack in the glass. We hadn't touched each other in 2 months. And no intimacy, no warmth. Claire became distant, hostile even, for no reason. And now I realize Claire was slowly leaving me, piece by piece. Maybe Claire didn't plan it that way. Maybe Claire did. But me? I was just loving Claire, trusting Claire, like a fool. That night changed everything. It was the moment I stopped being Claire's husband and became just a man living in the ruins of what we used to be. For a few days, there was just silence. Claire didn't talk. I didn't talk. But inside both of us, storms were raging. Sometimes we'd sit at the same table, sometimes we'd smile at the kids' stories, but we never met eyes. We were both drifting, and then, one evening Claire said Claire wanted to talk. We sat down. My heart was pounding. Claire hesitated, but eventually, Claire said it. Claire had been talking to this man for a while, and yes, Claire had planned to sleep with Julian. Claire said Julian turned out to be disappointing, that Julian wanted a real relationship, that Julian was emotional. So instead, Claire bought some of Julian's art, talked, and left. I froze. You mean, you planned to cheat, but didn't? Claire nodded. But you're still going to see Julian? Again, Claire nodded. I'm not interested anymore, though. That moment, it didn't feel like relief. It felt like betrayal with an asterisk, because sure, maybe Claire didn't go through with it, but the intent was there, the emotional disconnection, the secrecy, and to me, that was enough. Then, the conversation got stranger. Claire looked me in the eye and said, "I think the only way we can keep this marriage going is if we open it up." I didn't even feel anger. I felt empty. I was too tired to be angry. I asked Claire, "So, what happens now? We just never have sex again?" Claire shrugged. "Probably not." Claire said, "I don't want to be with anyone." And then Claire added, "But if I do decide to be with someone, I don't want to feel trapped, especially after that last disappointment. What even was this? A marriage where I'm unwanted, but tolerated? A life together, but apart?" Claire didn't love me. Claire didn't desire me. But Claire didn't want to leave me either. So I agreed. Why? Maybe for the kids. Maybe because I was too tired to fight. Maybe I just didn't want to be alone. "Not yet." "All right," I said. "So if I see someone, I don't have to explain anything, right?" Claire nodded. "That's only fair." And just like that, I entered an open marriage I never wanted. It wasn't a choice. It was surrender. We were no longer a couple. We were co-parents, roommates, legal partners, nothing more. But something strange happened. For the first time in months, Claire wasn't angry. Claire seemed at peace, like Claire's guilt had been washed away, simply because Claire confessed. But me? I was still drowning. To be honest, it didn't matter whether Claire actually slept with Julian or not. Claire was ready to. Claire wanted to. Claire planned to. And that means the marriage was already over. Claire just forgot to tell me. What we had is gone. This isn't a marriage anymore. It's just something we call love, because we don't know what else to call it. We had new rules now, not marriage rules, survival rules, the kind people make when they live together, but no longer with each other. Separate beds, separate dreams, shared bills, and kids who still said mom and dad with smiles on their faces. During the day, we played house. At tea night, we retreated into our own silent corners. One morning, while I was getting the kids ready for school, my daughter hugged me and said, "Mom is being herself again. Isn't that great, Dad?" I smiled. "Yeah," I said, but inside, I was frozen, because kids don't notice the lie, but they feel the silence. That week, I noticed something odd. The less I chased Claire, the more Claire came to me. Claire'd touch my arm in the kitchen, bring me coffee in the morning, compliment my shirt, like Claire was trying to win me back. But it wasn't love. It was fear, control, because I was no longer orbiting around Claire, and that scared Claire. Funny, isn't it? When I was faithful, Claire lost interest. Now that we're in an open marriage and I haven't done a damn thing, Claire's suddenly territorial. I started going out on Friday nights, dancing, clearing my head. I'd come home late, and Claire'd be awake, peeking from behind the bedroom door. Sleepless night, Claire'd say, but I could see it in Claire's eyes. Jealousy. Claire had built a world where I was free, but never thought I'd use that freedom. And it was driving Claire insane. Now, Claire's behavior was a strange mixture. One day Claire'd be warm, affectionate, the next, withdrawn, silent. Claire didn't know what Claire wanted. Did Claire want forgiveness, or just to not be alone? Either way, I was still trapped in the same loop. Should I keep pretending this is a marriage? One day I asked myself, is love still here? And the answer, maybe, but it's tired, wounded, and stripped of trust. I felt more alone with Claire than I ever did without Claire, and that hurt more than the affair ever could. I tried to become me again, lifted weights, took walks, went outside, reconnected with myself, and the strangest thing, the more I found myself again, the less I cared about Claire. At some point, I stopped wondering who Claire was talking to, what Claire was doing, where Claire was going. Because I realized something. I'm no longer living to save this marriage. I'm living to save myself. Claire can still call me Claire husband. The kids can still say dad. The neighbors can still wave and smile. But I know the truth. That night, the night of Claire's quiet betrayal, my marriage ended, and all I'm doing now is learning how to let go. We were still married, still living under the same roof, but our lives had completely split apart. Not on paper, but in every other way. Claire was still my wife. I was still Claire's husband, but we were strangers now, to people who knew each other's past, but no longer belonged in each other's future. I started going out on weekends, for myself. To keep from suffocating. I danced, I met strangers, I stayed out late, and every single time Claire was still awake when I got home. Claire always said the same thing. I couldn't sleep, but I saw it, the panic in Claire's eyes. The silent fear. Claire had set me free, but Claire never really expected me to fly. And then it happened. Julian, the man Claire claimed Claire never slept with, the one whose art Claire bought. Nothing more. Julian posted publicly on Claire's social media, angry, hurt, calling Claire out for ghosting Julian. And just like that, the silence of betrayal was replaced by public humiliation. That was it for me. I'd been patient, hurt, shattered, but this was disrespect on display. I looked at Claire and said, "You're leaving? I don't care where you go, but for the next week, this house isn't yours." Claire didn't argue. Claire packed Claire things and left. And let me tell you something. That week was the most peaceful I've felt in over a year. I laughed with my kids. I visited friends. No one yelled. No one cried. No one blamed me for anything. It was silent, but it was peaceful. I wasn't lonely. I was free. While Claire was gone, I realized something horrifying. Claire's presence in the house wasn't comforting anymore. It was draining. When it was just me and the kids, it felt like home again, a real home, without the constant emotional minefield. Claire came back a week later. Claire's face was pale, Claire's body language timid. Claire hugged me, made coffee, said Claire missed me, said Claire needed me. For the first time, Claire apologized, for real. Claire said Claire'd start therapy, said Claire'd do anything to fix things, but I had stopped listening to Claire's words. Now, I only watch Claire's actions. That week changed something in me. I started planning. Not fights, not revenge, just exit strategies. I met with the divorce lawyer, explored financial options, set up separate savings. Because this marriage it was just a shell now, a stage play, and the script was wearing thin. I haven't filed yet. Maybe part of me still hopes. Maybe part of me is just scared to break the kids' world apart. But I know now, if I don't prepare, I'll never stop bleeding. So I plan, quietly, patiently, because love might fade slowly. But when trust dies, there's nothing left to rebuild. From the outside, it looked like things were getting better. We smiled. We had morning coffee. The kids laughed, filling the house with their joy. But I knew the truth. It was a display, a framed painting propped up on broken shelves. Inside, everything was still rotting, but no one could smell it, because they were too busy admiring the flowers. I wasn't loved anymore, but I was still dad. There was no intimacy, but we were still married. We didn't touch, but we still ate dinner at the same table. It wasn't affection. It was performance, and we had memorized our lines. I kept turning inward. I went out more, danced. Strangers smiled at me. Some asked for my Instagram. It felt good, being noticed. But deep down, something was missing, because when someone loves you without knowing you, they're only loving your surface, not you. At home, things were messier. Claire was still jealous. The idea that I might be seeing someone else made Claire uncomfortable, but Claire still wouldn't be honest with me. Some nights I noticed Claire checking my phone behind my back, but the man Claire had an affair with, still not blocked, still lingering like mold under fresh paint. One night, while the kids slept, I asked Claire, "Do you really want an open marriage?" Claire hesitated, tensed up, then Claire exhaled and said, "I'm just not monogamous like you are. You are, but I never was." And in that moment, every last piece of hope inside me turned to ash. "So what? I'm married to a slut," I said. Claire smiled, a tired, broken smile. "Guess so," Claire replied, and I answered, "I guess for now." I wasn't angry anymore, just exhausted. I didn't want to build a future with Claire, but I wasn't ready to end it either. The finances were still a mess, the kids were still young, and sometimes, leaving a life behind isn't about courage, it's about timing. So I've made my plans. The divorce paperwork is ready, the lawyer is on call, the backup savings is building. All that's left is to push the button. But that button, it's not just a piece of paper, it's the death of a dream, and I'm not ready to bury it. Not yet. Claire still hugs me sometimes in the morning, sometimes grabs my hand at breakfast, laughs in front of the kids, and in those moments, I remember what we used to be. Even as I know we're long gone, from the outside, people say, "What a beautiful family," but I know now, sometimes the prettiest things are already rotting inside. I don't live with Claire anymore. I live around Claire. We share a roof, we share a schedule, but not a life. We boil tea in the same kitchen, watch the same shows in the same living room, plan birthday parties together, but there's no touch. And no warmth in a glance. No whisper in the night saying, "Come here." We're not lovers, we're not even friends, we're ghosts sharing a hallway. We still kiss each other good morning, but there's no meaning. We still split dessert from the same plate, but it tastes like air. We still call each other honey sometimes, but it feels like reading a line in a script. One morning at the breakfast table, Claire smiled at me. Claire reached across the table and held my hand, and in that exact moment, I felt two things at once. First, nostalgia, a memory of something we used to be. Second, nothing. That was when I realized, this is what emotional death feels like. Sometimes the kids ask, "Dad, why don't you sleep in the same bed as Mom?" And I tell them, "Well, Mom gets too hot at night, and I snore. It's just easier." I've said it so many times. I've started to believe it myself, but the truth, sharing a bed with Claire feels like giving up on myself. There's no love in that bed. No safety. No home. Just space and silence. Going out doesn't excite me anymore. Coming home doesn't feel like returning. Seeing Claire dressed up doesn't stir anything in me. Claire's not mine. I'm not hers. We're just managing each other. Everything is so calm, but it's the calm of emotional death. There's no fighting. No screaming. No plates shattering against walls. Just a quiet sadness. Two adults who never meet each other's eyes anymore. I'm not with Claire. I just haven't left yet, because leaving means hurting the kids. Leaving means financial chaos. Leaving means admitting failure. But staying means dying a little more each day. Claire still says nice things to me sometimes. "You're such a good father. You're the best man I know." But those words don't reach me anymore, because behind them, there's no love. Just guilt, loneliness, maybe a little fear. We're still together, but only in name, not in heart. One house, 2 bedrooms, 2 lives, and a handful of practiced smiles, hiding 100 quiet goodbyes. The worst part, I've gotten used to the emptiness, and that's the real tragedy. Every story has an ending. Ours began dying quietly, and then one day, it spilled out into the world. That man, the nothing happened guy, the just bought Julian's art guy. Julian made a public post on Claire's social media. Julian called Claire out, exposed everything, angry, hurt, humiliated. Everyone could see it. Not just me anymore, and weirdly, I didn't feel heartbroken, because there was nothing left to break. I just felt ashamed that my private wreckage had become a public display. I'd held on to my pride all this time, swallowed hurt, endured silence, but that day, I felt small. That was the day I looked at Claire, this woman, this chaos, this embarrassment, and asked myself, why the hell is Claire still my wife? So I told Claire, you're leaving for 1 week. This house is not your home. Claire didn't fight, didn't argue, because deep down, Claire knew there was nothing left here for Claire. That week, it was peaceful. I made breakfast for the kids, played games with them, visited friends, laughed. For the first time in months, there was no tension. And walking on eggshells. Claire wasn't there, and I could breathe again. When Claire came back, something had shifted. Claire's voice was softer, Claire's smile a little more forced. Claire tried to hug me, told me Claire missed me, made me coffee, like nothing had happened. But something had, and we both knew it. I looked at Claire, I said, okay, but inside, I whispered, goodbye, because I had already left this marriage, I just hadn't packed a bag yet. Later that night, I opened the divorce documents, everything my lawyer had prepared, and I thought, you're ready? This has been over for a long time. All that's left is the formal ending. And then, my daughter walked in. Claire wrapped Claire's arms around me and said, you're the best dad. And just like that, I stayed. Not for love, not for Claire. I stayed for them, for peace, for stability. But something in me shut off that day, and it hasn't come back on since. One morning, I was sipping my coffee, looking out the window. The sky wasn't bright, but it wasn't gray either. It was just quiet, and that's how I felt, too. Not in pain, not in joy, just still. For the first time in months, the storm inside me had passed. The damage remained, but I was no longer standing in the middle of it. I had walked through it, and I had found myself. The house was still the same. Claire was still there, but now, we both knew the truth. I was a guest. We still smiled, still made breakfast for the kids, still shopped for groceries together. But something was missing, and for once, that missing piece didn't hurt anymore, because I had made peace with it. I had said goodbye. In my own way, I never truly forgave Claire, but I also stopped punishing Claire, because anger, like love, is still a kind of connection, and I didn't want connection anymore. I just wanted freedom. I go out once a week now. I dance. I meet people. I meet myself. When I look in the mirror, there's still tiredness under my eyes. But for the first time, I see me again. My kids are happy. The house is quieter. And no more fights. And no more tension. And me, I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living. It took me a while to figure it out. What really broke me, I thought it was the cheating, but no. It was being made to feel unworthy, and I don't believe that lie anymore. I am worthy. I was betrayed, but I rose again. I didn't win the war. I just stopped showing up for the battles, and sometimes, that's what healing looks like. There's no marriage anymore, but my kids still have a home. I'm their pancakes in the morning, their bedtime stories, their safe place, and for myself, I've reclaimed my silence, my space, my name. If someone loves me again one day so be it. Maybe this heart will bloom once more, but for now, I am growing roots in my own ashes. One day, I realized I didn't feel anything anymore. Claire walked past me in the house. I looked at Claire. There was no hate, and no love, and no blame, and no hope. Just one simple thought. It's over. We were still under the same roof, still making dinner for the kids, still laughing, sometimes. Still smiling for the outside world. But those smiles, they were echoes, not meaning, just habit. The divorce papers were still in my drawer. My lawyer was a call away. But I didn't feel urgency anymore, because the marriage had already ended. The paperwork, that was just cleanup. The rope between us had already snapped. Silently, softly, long ago. I no longer filtered my words around Claire. I didn't try to impress Claire, didn't try to win. I didn't love Claire. But I didn't hate Claire either, because what Claire did no longer defines who I am. I just live my life now. I'm here for my kids. I'm at peace with myself. I meet new people. I dream new mornings. And none of those dreams include Claire anymore. Sometimes, I still wake up in the middle of the night, but there's no longer a voice inside me saying, talk to Claire, because I have nothing left to say. In this story, the loudest part was the silence. I haven't forgiven Claire, but I've stopped punishing Claire and myself, because sometimes, the strongest thing you can do isn't walking away with a bang. It's staying and simply stopping the fight. And that's what I've done. It's done. There's no weight in my chest anymore. I loved. I was wrong. I broke. I went quiet. And then I came back to myself. This is my final line. I don't have a story to tell anymore. Only a life left to live.